Hello, my name is Chasity Craft. I'm the literacy consultant here at Kentucky Valley Educational Cooperative, and I want to introduce you to our Child Find Writing Intervention tool. We developed this tool to assist you with providing interventions for your students who may be struggling in academic areas. So at the beginning, we have the description of each tier. So we have Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Tier 1 instruction is high quality evidence-based instruction that's given to your whole class. And this link right here is an example that you can click on that will show you what effective Tier 1 instruction would look like. It goes into deep explanation and provides examples. Now, I will note this is an example with reading, but you can use the same idea of it and use it to set up your writing class. After you have implemented Tier 1 instruction, you may have some students in your classroom that needs additional assistance that did not quite master the concept. Usually it is about 10 to 15% of your students. Those students will move to a Tier 2 intervention group. That group is usually a small group, and you do a targeted level of support. A sample Tier 2 would look like implementing a strategy to a small group of maybe 5 to 7 students for 20 minutes, 2 to 3 times a week. And these strategies would be implemented in addition to your Tier 1 instruction. Here is a link that you could click on that would show you what an example of effective Tier 2 instruction would look like in your classroom. After you have implemented Tier 2 interventions, you still may have some students that are struggling in getting the concept mastered. Those students would move to a Tier 3 instruction. Tier 3 interventions are your most intensive level of support for your students. They are individualized to improve academic needs of your student. So for example, this would look like implementing an individualized strategy to a small group of 1 to 3 students for maybe 30 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week. This would be implemented in addition to Tier 1 instruction and the Tier 2 interventions as well. Going down to the next section of our tool, we have our Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 strategies. When we go into talking about the intervention strategies for writing, these writing strategies can be used in Tier 1 instruction, Tier 2, and Tier 3 interventions. What makes the tiers different is the level of intensity, the frequency of the strategy, and the duration. We have divided this writing tool into the 7 components of writing. So if we look at our first column that we have labeled problem or concern, we have broken it down into fluency, legibility, conventions, word choice, content structure, and the writing process. Then, under each component, we have added some examples of problem indicators to assist in identifying the area of deficit. So, for example, if a student has little or no text or writes at a slower rate, it could be a fluency issue. If they have spacing issues or if you have difficulty reading their writing, it could be legibility. If you only see simple language in students' writing or their vocabulary appears to be below grade level, then it could be word choice. So you see how under each category, we have given you some look fors on help you determine the area of deficit. When you assess your students and you identify what they are weak in, then you can come over to this tool. You do not have to read it from beginning to end. You come over, find the component that your area falls under, and then we look across. Once you find your area, the next column we have are the intervention strategies. And then after that, we have your evidence. And then you have your student data collection. So for example, let's go down and look at conventions. If a student is having a lot of punctuation, organization, or spelling errors, then it's going to be a convention issue. So let's look at some intervention strategies that may help with that. All the interventions listed here that are blue, those are all live links that you can click on, and it will take you directly to resources and activities that you can use with your students. So for example, let's look at building words under conventions. So you can click on that, and this one automatically downloads it for you. So you just open it, and it gives you the skill, the materials that you need, instructions on how to administer the strategy, and then it also gives you words and sounds to work with. And there's also a different version of this particular strategy of building words. So it gives you everything that you need to implement that strategy for your kids. So after you have implemented the strategy, then you look at your evidence. This is what you have documented that proves that you have implemented intervention for that student. Then we move over to the student data collection. These are tools that you can use to help progress monitor your students, help you gather that data to help you determine if your student is making progress. For example, after we looked at the building words, let's look at one more, explicit instruction in the COPS strategy. So let's click on that one. And this gives you a description of what the COPS strategy is. It stands for capitalization, organization, punctuation, and spelling. It gives you directions on how to implement that strategy for your students. After you have implemented your interventions, then you come over here to your student data collection. So for example, let's look at our COPS editing checklist. And here's just a form that you can use. You can use this as a teaching tool that they could self-correct, or you can use it as your progress monitoring. All of these components are organized in the same manner. Let's look at some additional resources that we have for you. Here are some evidence-based resources that you can use for your classroom instruction. And also these links at the bottom are helpful tools that you may be able to use in your classroom to help with your record keeping, organization, and some guidance with helping you through this intervention process. If you have any additional questions, I encourage you to email me at chasity.craft@theholler.org. I will be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.